Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. Welcome back to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, and this is your host, Linda Prio. And I'm hoping that before you start part 2 of marijuana use by seniors reaches a new high, you go back and listen to part 1, because you're going to find out why I began this research and this choice of bringing this forward for you, my listeners. But I also explained what CBD is as opposed to THC, the ways that people are using the products, and are they smoking, vaping, is it a capsule, topical, what are the ways that that product can be used, and then why more seniors are turning to marijuana, seeing it as a potential drug that could relieve symptoms from pain, from cancer, for better sleep, for psychiatric issues and things like that. My reasons that I gave in part 1 for more seniors turning to marijuana as a potential drug is because it has now been legalized. It's legalized for medical use in 40 states, but it is in 24 states for recreational use. So it is definitely legal now. And there are dispensaries on every corner, and they have very clever names. And so it's readily available. And because of the legalization and the state licensure and the regulations regarding dispensaries and the licensure that they have to get, people are feeling that this is an acceptable form of relief or maybe recreational use. You are in the driver's seat. You get to decide which you want. My job is really just to share that, as with any drug that is utilized, whether it would be a supplement or it would be alcohol or a recreational drug or a pharmaceutical, we always have to be aware that there are risks, and not knowing that there could be risks and thinking that marijuana was handled exactly like pharmaceuticals with a recommended dose and with a standardized strength, you could actually find yourself in a difficult way. So what I was talking about at the end of part 1 was the fact that many seniors are using marijuana for medical use, but you just can't drive up to a dispensary and then ask for a particular product. You have to have a card that says that you have been approved for medical marijuana. And there's an application process to go through. But once you get that card, then you can go to the dispensary and get a product that you and the dispensary salesperson figure could work for you. There is not a lot of evidence showing that marijuana actually does help with these medical conditions that are listed on your application. And in fact, some people are really having a lot of side effects from medical marijuana, to the fact that many more seniors are going to the emergency room, and that is a cause for concern. And so we're just going to go ahead and start talking about and me educating you on what I learned, so that we all have our eyes wide open. Okay, so why is this happen? Why is this happening? We know that why people are choosing these drugs as a solution, but the studies are showing that many patients assume that they are not going to have adverse side effects from cannabis because they simply do not view cannabis as seriously as they would a prescription drug. And this is from Benjamin Hahn. He's an MD, and he is the study's first author and a geriatrician in the Division of Geriatrics and Gerontology and Palliative Care in the Department of Medicine at UC San Diego School of Medicine. He says, I do see a lot of older adults who are overly confident, saying they know how to handle it. Yet, as they have gotten older, their bodies are more sensitive, and the concentrations are very different from what they may have tried when they were younger. And I want to note here that the use is up among seniors, but the perceived risk of marijuana use is decreasing. And we just heard that from this doctor. Cannabis risks are real, just like any pharmaceutical risk is real. Cannabis can slow reaction time and impair attention, which may lead to injuries and falls. It may also have an increase for the risk of psychosis, delirium, and paranoia. In fact, it can also exacerbate a cardiovascular disease. By 2017, the fifth year after legalization, 21.7% of Colorado drivers were involved in fatal accidents where they tested THC positive. The exact meaning of this increase is unclear, as testing positive for THC doesn't necessarily correlate with being impaired by marijuana. But if you experience any of the following serious side effects right after using cannabis, stop using cannabis and contact your doctor, which goes back to the first question. One of the reasons why I started this episode and continued it now into part 2, because when you go to visit your doctor, you will be asked, if you are a Medicare recipient, what drugs do you use for fun? Which may not be a fair question, but I think that's the best way that a medical assistant has figured out how to ask the question. And when you say that you don't use marijuana or another recreational drug, you're putting yourself at risk, because your doctor needs to know. Here is what is being advised, that if you're having side effects, stop using it, contact your doctor. But what if your doctor doesn't know that you're taking it? And what if you don't disclose it? So if you end up in the ER and then report exactly what medications you already take and then what kind of marijuana product you have taken, then they will know exactly how to treat you. In other words, they will be able to differentiate between the pharmacy drugs that you take and this drug and be able to treat you appropriately. So full disclosure and transparency is really, I cannot emphasize that enough. But it is clear that if you have liver disease, kidney disease, or if you have heart or blood vessel disease, cannabis use is not for you. And again, the side effects are not fun. So we're going to run through those quickly here is that seizure, paranoia, chest pain, hallucinations, severe headache, shortness of breath, loss of consciousness, rapid or irregular heartbeat, trouble seeing in one or both eyes, numbness or weakness in any part of your body could occur, as well as confusion, trouble speaking, difficulty in understanding speech. And yes, I think I sound like a pharmaceutical ad that also lists a lot of potential risks and side effects when using a particular drug. Let's pause here and have a word from our sponsor.
The Neptune Society is the oldest and largest cremation service in the United States. For over 50 years, the Neptune Society has been proud to provide signature service to the families they've served. With a pre-arranged funeral plan, you can declare what you want done at the time of your passing, pay for it in advance, and not leave your survivors with the cost of your final arrangements. Call 314-266-2898. That's 314-266-2898.
Welcome back to part 2 of senior adults and marijuana use being on the rise. So now that we understand that there could be potential side effects and who should not be taking cannabis for medical marijuana, let's talk about cannabis dispensaries, and they are licensed. And my question I asked myself is, well, are licensed cannabis dispensaries a safe place to buy marijuana products? And this is what my research told me, is that they are generally considered safe for consumers, especially when compared to purchasing from the illegal market. All right. Licensed dispensaries adhere to strict regulations, including product testing for contaminants like pesticides, mold, and heavy metals, because they are tracking their products from seed and then to the sale of the product. The staff at licensed dispensaries can provide information about products and their effects, helping consumers make more informed choices. And here are some additional tips from the Government of Canada. If you choose to use cannabis, you should always buy it from the legal market, because cannabis products from the illegal market are not subject to the same quality controls. Also, cannabis products are much stronger today and come in a greater variety of forms and ways to consume them. So regardless of what your previous experience has been, the Government of Canada advises their citizens to start low and go slow. And that means start with the lowest amount of THC and CBD available, and then space out the doses. Don't take them too close. And then, of course, for those who did not hear my information on the edibles, it's very important that you realize that edibles vary from gummy to gummy. There is not as much consistency of dose, and they're very slow acting. So be aware that these edibles are stronger, even for people who have used marijuana before. And believe it or not, it's one of the biggest reasons why people are ending up in the emergency room. But being desperate for relief is not a good place to be. And I understand that many times we just want relief, but we have to ask the right questions and get the research in so that we know what our risks are. An NPR article featured in February of 2025 was titled, "Is Your Weed Safe?" And this article reported that cannabis itself is associated with health risks, whether it's contaminated or not. As cannabis products become more potent and as more Americans consume greater quantities of them, researchers say there are significant risks to brain function and mental health. So there you have it. You have the difference between CBD, THC, the ways to take them, the medical marijuana piece and being approved for that, and then the risks in case you might get into trouble, the reason why we tell our doctor about it, and also some of the things that we might experience if we are using them. And then it's your decision, obviously, of whether or not this is a good solution for you or not. If you find relief and it works, great. But be aware that a doctor, your regular primary doctor, does not know about cannabis, and they are not approved to prescribe cannabis. And so don't have false expectations when you talk to your doctor. However, many dispensaries do have doctors on staff that will then approve you for your medical marijuana card. So evaluate and research if marijuana could be beneficial to you and to your health and the problem that you're trying to solve. Remember, there are always risks and benefits. So know your risks and evaluate the benefits before taking marijuana. And remember that it's not going to be covered by your insurance. I also think it's important to know that you remember that the dispensary employee is not your physician, but a salesperson at the dispensary. And you need to speak with your doctor about your potential risks and explain to the doctor why you want to move away from pharmaceuticals and towards this product. You can explain and show the doctor how many years you've been on this product and the value that you're receiving now or the value that you received then, and you don't see any improvement and you'd like to give it a try. Be open, be honest, and talk to your doctor about where you are and what you want from your health. This is a valid conversation to have. Here was another helpful hint saying that I found that if you decide to move ahead with a cannabis purchase to try it out, ask a responsible person to be with you when you try the product in case you might have a negative reaction that they can get help for you. And always important is for us to stay hydrated. Be aware that senior adults can have more side effects from medications because medications stay in our bodies longer as seniors and because we have slower metabolisms. Many seniors take multiple medications that may create more risks by using marijuana products. So before we leave today, there could be caregivers who are watching or helping or caring for someone who might like to use marijuana, whether it's CBD or THC. So you have to have an open and frank conversation about whether or not that's okay for you, the care provider. So if you find out that the person that you're caring for is using cannabis ask yourself, are you fine with that or are you not fine with that? So if you are comfortable with that, then I think it's important and reasonable that you add that to the medication list, how much they take, how often they do it. Have you noted any change or effects? And you would do the same for any alcohol use as well. And again, are you comfortable in this caregiving situation? Are you comfortable if you need to take the person to the dispensary, or can you buy it for them on their behalf? And be aware of any state laws that would apply to this purchase and how much you can have on you or how much they can have on you. And then whenever you're meeting with the doctor and you get asked the question, what kind of drugs do you use for fun? Realize that this is your time to explain that the person you're caring for is now using cannabis. This is what they're using. This is how much. This is how often, and let them document that in their chart. But I also think it's important for anybody, even in a situation where they're smoking, to understand that there is secondhand smoke. So if in this particular instance, you're in the caregiving and you're in the home of the person who is using marijuana and they are smoking, realize that there is secondhand cannabis smoke, and it does pose health risks similar to those with tobacco smoke. Be aware that exposure to secondhand marijuana smoke can cause respiratory irritation, potentially cardiovascular issues, and may also negatively impact cognitive function and mental health. So if you're not comfortable with marijuana use, please have a frank and open conversation and feel free to decline being a care provider, because you have rights too. Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as education and not advice. Don't forget to share this podcast with family, friends, or colleagues who want to learn how to age in place, but also share this with those who find themselves in crisis mode. Please go to my website, seniorsupportstrategies.com for more information. When you subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, you gain access to premium content and professional tips on creating your own Aging in Place roadmap. As always, I value the time you spend with me.